This is something that has affected us personally, but I wanted to show you a little clip first. Okay. Now, for those of you who are interested, let's get this in here in the background. We have all the links to all this stuff in the description. But let's just watch this together, okay?
Okay.
And then we'll comment. So let's go.
To meet a group of activists who fled the Chinese government crackdown in Hong Kong. They've been approached by someone claiming to be a journalist, but they suspect he's spying on behalf of the Chinese state.
That guy over there, by the way, his name is Fin Lau.
Okay.
And he is one of the well-known pro-democracy protesters, like protest leaders from Hong Kong.
Okay.
He's fled Hong Kong to the UK.
Okay.
As many have. I think 166,000 Hong Kongers.
Wow, that many. That's nuts.
Yeah, have fled to the UK.
In the UK, didn't they do something where they like let them in or whatever?
Yeah, but remember that Hong Kong used to be part of the whole Commonwealth thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you've got a Hong Kong passport, you could go to the UK.
That makes sense.
But yes, the UK did have a special provision that actually allowed them to move there. Because
Yes.
I don't think you could just go live there normally. But now they
they
could
made it,
apply.
like, easier or whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, he's part of a bunch of basically dissidents from Hong Kong.
Yes.
Who the Chinese government hate, by the way, and have been tracking them down and trying their best to silence them and screw them over from the beginning of these protests.
See, you know who you recognize them. I recognize the lady that's interviewing. She is she was a vice journalist. She did amazing work.
Oh, okay.
So I guess she's what's this publication?
This is called Channel 4 Dispatches.
Okay, Channel 4. So I guess she's working for Channel 4 now. She's done great work. She's like an investigative journalist.
Okay, anyway, let's continue on with this. Super important.
I don't feel safe in the UK. Whenever I'm walking on street, then I would try to look around. Maybe every 2 minutes, I would try to see if someone has been following me.
We know that the Chinese intelligence services are targeting the UK prolifically and aggressively. That's according to Parliament's Intelligence and Security Committee. One of their main goals is to silence anyone here in the UK who's critical of the Chinese Communist Party. We've had a phone call. Fin Lau believes that there could be someone who's attempting to spy on this group that he's a part of. This group of Hong Kong activists is called Global D-Twin, and they essentially work to try and persuade UK cities and other cities around the world to cut their ties with cities that they're twinned with in China. These are the emails that you guys got, right? Coming from a man who claims he's called Richard Vong.
Okay, so this is important.
Okay.
That's
not a Chinese name, by the way.
No, it's not a Chinese name, but actually it was spelt in the email footers V-O-U-N-G, so maybe like Vietnamese, maybe? Maybe something like that. Yeah. Anyway, the fact of the matter is they were contacted by email by a guy, Richard Vong, who claims to work for I believe the Toronto, she'll explain in a minute, but the Toronto Guardian. And the whole point is he contacted them as a journalist.
Oh, okay.
To say, through the emails, to say...
So he's like, I want to interview this Hong Kong activist guy.
Yeah, he emailed the Hong Kong activist group or whatever, and he's like, hey, look, I'm a journalist. I work for this Canadian newspaper, online newspaper. I would like to interview you about what you do, that kind of thing, right? So now that we know that, let's see what happens.
Richard claims he's working for the Toronto Guardian, an online newspaper in Canada.
It seems to be a fake email address. We found that the email domain was created just a few hours before he sent us that request.
And we've since contacted the editor of the Toronto Guardian, and this person doesn't work there. He's never heard of this person. A forensic analysis of his emails by the D-Twin activists showed some of them were sent from Shanghai. We're expecting to speak to someone who looks like this. This is a picture from his
So he's
WhatsApp.
pretending to be a journalist from Canada. This guy. Yeah, I get it.
So this guy's like, hey, obviously they went and created a domain, probably like TorontoGuardian.com or something, slightly different from whatever the official one is.
Yeah, or they did one of those things where they that you can say it's from there, but you mask it or whatever. You know what I mean?
Either way, so it looks like an official email.
Spoofing, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's an official email. It looks like a legitimate publication, a legitimate journalist, right?
What's with the basketball dribble in the background?
Well, you got to understand, man. There's basketball players over there. Anyway, let's continue. This is important, guys. Pay attention.
He's provided, and this is the photo from his Telegram. Shall we try dialing in?
Yeah, sure.
He's coming.
Okay. Hello.
To our surprise, he's not Chinese.
Is it Richard?
Hello?
And just want to make sure I didn't pronounce your name wrong. Are you Richard Fong?
Yeah, that's
Oh, it's a white guy.
So, okay, the first important thing is they've now confirmed. Are you Richard Vong? He's like, yes,
So
that's
this is
correct.
the fake journalist from the Toronto
Yes.
Guardian. Right.
And here's the important part is that he confirmed that he is this Richard Vong character.
Oh, okay. He
Right?
said yes.
He said yes. He said, I just want to confirm, are you Richard Vong? He's like, yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. Okay, so he has confirmed that he's the guy been sending the emails, or at least he is the guy who's supposed to send the emails. Okay? Let's see what happens next.
Okay, I see. Because you look different from the Telegram photo. Yeah.
yeah. Thanks for asking. Yeah.
He claims to be writing about the D-Twin group.
And we're trying to really put together an article that our viewers would be interested in.
He started peppering Fin Lao with questions.
What specific changes do you hope to achieve by ending the sister city relationship? How do you focus your efforts? Have you been able to evaluate the impact of those initiatives? Your Vancouver is with as a sister city with, am I saying this right, Guangzhou? Am I saying that right?
Have you visited China before?
I have visited Shanghai.
All right, so we can see where this is going, right? The guy's digging for a lot of information about what they're doing and trying to gauge responses that they've gotten. Basically just trying to find out anything that they can, pick at or,
Or at
use.
least like start the conversation to warm him up, right? It's classic, like getting someone to trust you and be friendly, right? And then later it'd be like, well, where are you planning on having your next activist rally, right?
Sure.
Something like that. That's probably
Either way, the guy's getting in with all the questions to find out a lot of vital information. Now that's the important part.
Very briefly, and Hong Kong very briefly.
Hey, excuse me. Hi, I'm just interrupting here. I'm Isabel, I'm a journalist from Channel 4 Dispatches, and I have a few questions of my own to ask as well. Are you spying on Hong Kongers on behalf of the Chinese government?
Yeah, that's a good question. I had one more question that I want to ask after that, but the answer is no. But I'm curious as to why you're questioning me about that.
Well, because, we spoke to the Toronto Guardian's editor. They've never heard of you. You've never worked for them before.
I'm not sure if you reached the correct organization.
There's only one Toronto Guardian. We checked your email address. The IP goes back to China. Your email domain is fake. It was created 30 minutes before you first reached out to this D-Twinning Hong Kong group.
I don't know much about domains or any kinds of emails.
I'm just trying to understand, what your real name is.
Yeah, very good question. So, Richard, and I can send all the documents and whatever you need to continue this conversation in the future, okay?
How do you spell your surname?
So, again, these are very personal questions.
It's strange that you don't know how to spell your own surname. Who's your boss?
Who's my boss? That's pretty specific. I don't think that's appropriate for this interview.
Why are you focused on spying on this group?
Again, these kinds of accusations or words may put me in a bit of a pickle. So I'm just going to end the meeting there, and I wish you guys the best, okay? Thank you for taking the time, Finn. And I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but I hope you guys have a great future.
Are you, in fact... Can you... He's hung up.
Yikes.
Okay, so
What a weird accent that guy. I can't even pin. It's so weird.
it's a little bit weird, yeah.
I think probably on purpose.
Maybe. But I like the fact that he, first of all, can't spell his surname all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And he refuses to mention who his boss is.
It's interesting.
If you were a legitimate journalist and you've approached a group, I am so on, and I work for this organization, and you get asked... how do you spell your surname? You just said straight out. You wouldn't have a problem with that because you've already given that information, right?
Unless that's true.
Unless you gave false information.
True. You know what this Finn guy?
Yeah.
That's his name, right?
Yeah, Fin Lao.
Fin Lao, you know what he should have done?
What?
He should have asked him his source right off the get-go.
Oh, yeah. Like, what's your source? Well, it's...
My source is that I made it the up.
I agree. Anyway, then when asking who's your boss... If I was working for the Toronto Guardian, they asked who's your boss, I'd say whatever Ned in
Everyone thinks he's Dutch, but we're not.
Yeah.
We're not here to point fingers.
Yeah.
He can answer to the.
Well, this has a twist, okay, guys. Here's the twist.
We discovered Richard's real identity, an American who'd spent 5 months teaching in Shanghai.
Interesting.
He didn't respond to a request for comment, and we decided not to reveal his real name. But it added fuel to suspicions that he may be working for the Chinese state, or someone who's connected to it.
Okay, so guys,
Interesting.
so it turns out he taught English, presumably, for 5 months in Shanghai.
Okay.
And his name
He's
was...
American, I guess.
Yeah, he's American. And his name wasn't Richard Vaughn.
Obviously.
Okay.
What was that up for a debate?
No, but I mean, it's proven.
Sure.
It's proven, okay?
Well, you know, when this is a proper media publication. The
Yes.
reason that they won't include his name and like his real name and things like this is because this probably will go to a real investigation. So until someone is up for public investigation, you're not going to know him.
I'm curious, if I'm just curious if anyone's ever like met the guy.
No,
Yeah.
it's there. That's
No,
not,
I'm curious
Yeah.
because if they have, it might surface in the future.
Obviously, yeah.
We might find out. Either way, the fact of the matter is he was caught lying. He was caught pretending to be a journalist for a publication, which he didn't work for.
Yeah.
And this, by the way, is fairly common.
Yeah,
This is the first
sure.
time that we've seen this caught up. But I have a bit of a follow-up to this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this that they've got on the screen is quite easy. The Chinese embassy said the so-called monitoring and intimidation of Chinese diaspora is sheer disinformation. It's not disinformation.
It's prolific.
It's 100% true. And it happens to us too.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can...
And the whole dissident community.
Yeah. We can guarantee you that it is very, very true. Okay, what else did they say?
I missed the last little slide.
Yeah, I guess it's not too important.
Okay.
This is important.
Yes.
Though. Okay, this is a personal friend. Okay, it's somebody that I know. His name is Haza. And I spoke to him about this. Okay, this whole situation.
Because he has personal...
Because he has personal experience with this, okay? So a little bit of background about Haza is he moved to China.
Yeah.
And he became very popular because of his music.
Australian guy.
Yeah, he's Australian. He used to sing these kind of very interesting songs.
He has some very popular songs, actually.
No, very, very popular.
Catchy,
yeah,
too.
very, very catchy and popular songs. And, he became very popular in China. His Chinese is immaculate, okay?
Yeah,
he studied and lived in China for,
He's in Guangzhou, right?
Yeah, the longest time. And he became a presenter.
Yes.
Okay, for Guangdong, Guangzhou TV station.
State
Yeah,
television. Local television.
Yeah,
But
state TV.
Yeah.
And in fact, he interviewed me about our documentary.
That's
and
right.
I just wanted to show you a little excerpt of that before we continue, just to show that we actually know the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, there's me and there's him, right?
Got someone saying, "Oh, you got to try the cow dung hot pot," which
Cow dung hot pot?
Yeah, which is basically they take the semi-digested grass out of the intestines of the cow, and they make a hot pot out of it. And
We ate that.
We just had to go try that because it just sounded so bizarre.
He's a great guy, by the way.
He's a fantastic guy. Anyway, he was approached by agents of the Chinese government, and they tried to get him to do this spying for them.
Like
this
very similar.
Exact thing.
Yeah.
Because take a look, all right? We've linked, by the way, not only have we linked the show with this whole expose down below, but we've linked the article, Haza's article, which I've taken these screenshots from. But this person called Susan, this is one of the examples, contacted him and wanted to meet up with him, okay? And she proposed basically that he spy for the Chinese government, okay? And here's a quote from the article, it says, basically, what they proposed to me was that I would use my position as a journalist and a television host to reach out to Australian politicians and high-profile people here in Australia.
Yikes.
And I would ask about certain topics that they would give me to find information under the guise of it being an interview for television, radio, or publication.
Wow.
So you see, this is something, this, by the way, was from May, I believe, this year, this article came out.
Yeah, this message, though, is from 2021.
Yeah, of course.
But
That was when they actually tried to meet up. Well, they did. He met up with her in a coffee shop. But this is something that they do, is they get people to pretend to be journalists. So we've seen this happen before. It's happened to us.
Yes.
People that pretend to be journalists, because most people are more open to speak to a journalist about something because, hey, it's a respected newspaper or it's a respected or an official channel. So, Hazza being an actual presenter.
That makes sense. He's got a lot of credentials.
So he could use his press credentials to get information that would normally be privileged information.
Correct.
So, I mean, if you're a politician and you get, like, the press reaches out to you to say, hey, we'd like to interview you about something, you'd be like, okay, yes, I'll do that. But if a random person connected to the Chinese government says, I want to ask you questions, you'll be like, wait, what? Right? So it's like a way to get over a barrier.
Yeah, true. It's a conduit.
Yeah. And then, of course, he could ask all sorts of very specific, pointed questions to gauge the reaction of how Australia might react to certain things.
Sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Figure out if they've managed to catch on to some kind of nefarious thing that the government has been doing, Chinese government has been doing. So, yes, just to show you that this guy, this Richard Wong guy who was caught out red-handed, this is not an isolated case.
No.
This is something very common.
Yes, very, very common.
And I would like to take this opportunity to put out a little bit of a warning, a friendly warning to anyone who deals with the Chinese government or Chinese state media. And that is to be careful.
Yeah.
Okay, because you never know that innocent little thing that you think you're doing just for a little bit of a payday, because they do this often. They have approached us.
By the way, it's not a warning as a threat. It's a warning.
It's a warning.
Don't do like little odd jobs.
Yeah, like a public service announcement. It's like a warning, like don't stick your finger in a plug socket type warning. You know what I mean? Yeah. That type of thing. I know a lot of people who've taken quick, odd little dirty money jobs, okay, to say like, oh, this bracelet, this lucky charm has helped me out, and it's nonsense, but you're just doing it.
Yeah.
The Chinese government gets you to say things, all the time. Do little fluff pieces, talk about poverty alleviation or the high-speed rails, or post this on your Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
Or be like, hey, in this guy's case, we need you to just pretend to be this guy and ask these questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might think it's like innocent. You might think that it's like, maybe it's a little dodgy, but hey, they're paying me like $1,000 or whatever. I'll just do it, or a couple $100. You have to realize that.
I say $200 because someone else did it.
Yeah, someone else did it for $200. Someone who looks very similar, except if he just didn't have hair. Anyway, the thing is, you might think you're doing a little job and it's a little thing, but you could actually be acting as a spy for the Chinese government.
It's not
and
that.
You could,
it's actually, I mean, it is that, but it goes higher than that.
Yeah.
It could be transnational repression.
That's what I'm saying. You could be actually getting yourself into massive legal trouble.
Massive problems.
Okay, because what is the purpose of that guy's interview?
Clearly to spy on dissidents.
Yes, clearly to spy on Hong Kong dissidents, to intimidate them, in order to lead to bad things happening to them, in order to give this intelligence to the Chinese intelligence officials so that they can mess with them.
And the thing is, the best case scenario for this guy is that he didn't know, right?
Yeah.
They're like a third-party company, just like those advertising companies out of Hong Kong or Shanghai that reach out to us, reach out to all these people.
Take a look at this screenshot. Hello, this is Susan working for a consulting company.
That's what
and
they
we're
always
looking
say.
for someone to write essays for us.
Marketing or consulting, every time.
Okay, that is the person who reached out, who eventually said basically, hey, you know what? We can use your personality as a reporter to ask these questions to politicians and stuff. And it's not a consulting company, it's the Chinese government.
The thing is, like, the contact would have already been made. Like, that guy, the Dutch guy, no, he's American. So the American guy, he lived in Shanghai for a little while, right? Like, teaching English or whatever. And that's how the Chinese government can make contact with people, because they're there, right?
It's probably part of a WeChat group.
Probably,
he went on a
got a little
piece.
gig. This is, by the way, best case scenario.
Best case scenario.
Worst case scenario is he knew what he was doing.
Sure.
Best case scenario, let's say they're like, we need you to pretend to be this. We know this guy. He's a bad dude or something, and we want to know if you'll pretend to be a journalist. We'll give you $200, $500,
sure,
$1,000, whatever, right? And he's like, you know what? All right, I'll do it. It's money, right?
Yeah.
That's the best case scenario.
Best case scenario.
Worst case scenario is he's like, I know what you guys are doing. I'm willing to participate in this
or he even suggests,
crime.
or he's like, hey, I think I've got a good way to get some information.
I mean, this is prolific.
I can pretend to be this Asian journalist.
There's a lot of foreigners that do get involved in this and know what they're doing.
Yes, and do it willingly.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, nothing has been done about it publicly in the past, especially I just don't think anyone's had the book thrown at them, and I think we're going to start to see that happen. And maybe, the whole what's it called? The whole way that they do things they'll have to regroup.
Yeah.
Or at least think about how to do it differently next time, because this is I mean, I don't know who this guy is, right? No. And I'll leave it up to whatever happens. But
but we're not asking anyone to figure out who he is, by the way. That's up to the relevant authorities around the world. So if you are
covered
perhaps,
in the news.
If you are perhaps like
a relevant authority. I'm sure you've seen the news article. Anyway, my point is that I would think twice, like you said. I'd really think twice about, even if it seems kind of innocent, just don't get caught up in this kind of stuff. Even if it's like layers deep and you're like way on the outside, I wouldn't get caught up in doing that kind of stuff, because it will probably come back to you.
Yes.
It looks like a lot of countries, especially in the West, are taking this very seriously. We've been reading those reports sometimes in Worldview, and it looks like they're taking it seriously now. This isn't like 10 years ago.
No, exactly. And I mean, like, it's easy to get duped.
Yeah.
Lots of people have. Remember those kids in Canada got duped into thinking they were being part of a music video?
Or whatever.
Yeah, but they actually were handed like free Meng Wanzhou posters and stuff, and they were used as Chinese propaganda.
Yeah.
So anything that seems a little sus that's connected to a Chinese firm, a Chinese consulting company, something out of Shanghai, something out of Hong Kong, steer clear, just for your own safety.
Yes.
You just don't want to get embroiled in this, because this guy, we'll see what happens to him. If anything does happen to him and we hear about it, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
So moving on from this.
It was an interesting story.
It's interesting.
I didn't even know what Channel 4 was.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into what they do. It was a good find. You showed me that. I didn't even watch the whole thing. So that was a fresh reaction. YouTube React.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm just glad that there are investigative journalists who are willing to look into this. Yeah.
Great work.
Yeah. Because it's no joke, but we've had to deal with this exact thing. Mm-hmm. We've got teams of people that have been trying to mess with us, you know what I mean? And they do this kind of thing. And we know it's real. And that's why we can present it to you as fact.
Yes.
And not like an airy-fairy, this
this might happen. Yeah.
No, the Chinese government is using foreigners to try and spy or get information or meddle or do whatever across the world. So just so you know. There they go. There they go. It's like a herding cattle or something.
There is a trend right now in China called the Dozier Challenge.
No.
Slide whistles.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, that's...
Yeah.
It gives me the shudder.
Yeah, let's try it out.
Cheers.
Cheers.